Hi, and welcome to this AI and C# video on the Microsoft Agent Framework. Today we're going to dive into the OpenAI Responses API and more specifically the reasoning summary. Because whenever you use a reasoning model, you normally see that it thinks for a while. Sometimes it will show what it's thinking, other times not. And then we'll come up with an answer, and then you can scroll in and see what it actually thought about during the reasoning part of it. And this video will show you how you get that information out using the API. So I'm just going to run this code, and we need to start the right project here. Let's do that. So this is the reasoning or the response client, and it works both for OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. In general, everything works for OpenAI, but some of the features in the response client will not work. And if you haven't seen the intro video on the response client, I would recommend you do so before. So we're just going to new up our client like normal, and we're going to make an agent. And this agent has quite a few information. So first of all, it's the response client instead of the chat client like we've done before. And it is a reasoning model because if we didn't use a reasoning model, it wouldn't make sense to try and get some reasoning details. And when we new up the agent, we are going in and setting the chat options to have this raw representation factory because reasoning is a fairly low-level thing that the agent framework team will not expose in a easier manner because it's not every LLM out there that do reasoning this way. It's only OpenAI. So, for example, Claude does it with max number of tokens instead. But what we're going to do is we're going to set a chat client and set this raw representation factory. And we're going to set it with a response creation options. And if you have seen one of the other videos about reasoning effort, here we did something similar, but that was for chat completion option. So they are different based on if you're using chat client or response creation client here. Because when we have this one, we can now set all the reasoning options, and we can set the reasoning effort level, which we can set to low, high, and medium, and there's technically also minimum, but that's not exposed in the API here yet. And then we can set the summary verbosity. So we can set it to auto, we can set it to details, and we can set it to concise, all depending on what we feel. In this case, we're trying to set it to details, so we get some all the details we can get. And if I create that client and let it run, and I ask what is the capital of France and how many live there, this is not a hard question, so it will not reason too much, but it will reason a little. So right now it's thinking about it. And we get a response back. And our response in this case is just the capital of France is Paris. That's okay, and we give the information, and we can see the usage that we used 448 reasoning tokens. And the way we then get the reasoning is to go to the messages. So if we explore this a bit, we can see there's one message back to us, but that message have two contents. The one being our reasoning and the one being our text. So our text is just the one we have out here in the response.txt itself, but the message itself was actually containing two pieces of information, and the other one being the reasoning. And the reasoning, we can see gets out here in text. So what we need to do is we need to go to the messages. We only have one. And for each of those messages, we need to take the content, which we had two of. And the first one is the one we're looking for. So we check that is this content of type text reasoning content. If it is, then we can go in and just get our text and write that out. And if it's our text content, we don't need to write anything out further because we do that in the normal answer. So when we do this, we should be able to see that our reasoning was that it wanted to clarify Paris demographics. It's crafting. Yeah, you can read it on your own and pause the video here. But in general, this is what it thought about in order to give this answer. So that is actually everything there is to it. It's a little difficult to find this if you don't know it, and it's a little difficult to understand that you need to go in to the response and get within the messages the different content and so on. But once you get the hang of that, it's fairly simple, and I will probably make some helper methods to make such things easier in my NuGet package that I'm planning to do on top of the agent framework. But that is everything. See you in the next one.